All right, so get ready because in this deep dive, we are going to be challenging some assumptions about why people convert to Islam.
Yeah.
We're going to be going beyond those headlines and sound bites, and you know what that means?
Straight to the source.
They're going straight to the source.
Exactly.
We have these two incredible firsthand accounts, two YouTube interviews, one with a former American missionary,
right,
and the other with a self-proclaimed American atheist, both of whom ultimately embrace Islam.
Yeah, what's fascinating about that, too, is they come from such different backgrounds and perspectives.
Exactly. Talk about a plot twist, right?
Yeah, really.
So let's start with a question for all of you listening. What are your initial thoughts about why someone might convert to Islam?
Yeah, it's easy to fall back on the narratives that we often see in the media, especially post 9/11.
Right.
But these interviews offer a completely different perspective.
Right.
They show how personal and individual each journey is, highlighting the human search for meaning and truth.
Okay, so let's unpack this first story. We have this American missionary, this guy who grew up deeply immersed in Christianity in the Bible Belt, even served as a youth minister and a missionary. So
wow,
when you think about it, it's pretty mind-blowing, a missionary becoming Muslim.
Exactly.
Right.
It's quite the switch, yeah.
It really is.
And his journey really begins with doubt, you know? He starts questioning the concept of Jesus as God,
right,
scrutinizing biblical passages and finding these inconsistencies.
Yeah.
It's a period of really deep internal reflection for him.
And then comes this chewing gum incident.
Yeah.
Picture this. Okay, he's driving to church, wrestling with his doubts, and he decides to, you know, quite literally leave his path in God's hands.
Okay.
So he throws a piece of gum out the window without looking and makes this pact with himself.
Okay.
If the gum is gone, he'll abandon his belief in Jesus as God.
Oh, wow.
And he'll simply pray to God alone.
Okay.
You know, that's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
And of course, when he looked back,
yeah,
the gum was gone.
The gum was gone.
He felt this like shift within himself, this moment of surrender, you know? But it's not like he immediately jumped to Islam as the answer, though, right?
No, not at all.
Right.
This experience set him on a new path.
Right.
But the connection to Islam didn't become clear until he reconnected with an old friend from college.
Okay.
A Saudi man named Ali.
Okay.
And Ali flat out tells him, you're a Muslim.
And he's like, what?
And our interviewee's like, whoa, hold on, I'm definitely not.
Right, yeah.
But here's where it gets really interesting, you know?
Yeah.
Despite his initial resistance, something clicks for him.
Oh, okay.
You know, he starts exploring Islamic topics online.
Okay.
And when he comes across the 5 pillars of Islam, it's like this, you know, light bulb moment for him.
Yeah.
He describes it as if like his heart was being painted.
You know, like a path was suddenly illuminated.
Wow.
Those core tenets of Islam just resonated with him so deeply.
So he takes his shahada, which is the declaration of faith, basically in a bathroom.
Wow.
All by himself.
Okay.
By the way, for those unfamiliar, the shahada is the Islamic creed, declaring belief in the oneness of God and the prophethood of Muhammad.
Yes.
It's a pretty powerful statement of faith.
Absolutely.
And then he tells Ali, and Ali reacts with so much joy.
Yeah.
It's almost as if he converted all over again.
That's beautiful.
It's beautiful, right?
It really illustrates that welcoming nature of the Muslim community.
Yeah.
Our interviewee ends up working for Ali's company in Saudi Arabia, which leads him to a Dawah Center.
Now, a Dawah Center, for our listeners who may not know, is essentially a place for Islamic outreach and education.
Right.
It's a space for learning and dialogue about the faith.
Exactly.
And this is where we get this fantastic anecdote about a Muslims-only side outside the mosque.
Yes. He encounters these 3 Hindu men who are hesitant to enter because of the sign.
Right.
And he sees this as exclusionary, and he removes it.
He just takes it down.
Emphasizing that the mosque is a place for everyone, regardless of their background.
Right.
It was a powerful act of inclusivity that challenged the status quo.
Talk about putting your beliefs into action.
Seriously.
I mean, 2 of those men end up embracing Islam that very day.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and this anecdote really speaks to the power of creating welcoming spaces for those who are curious about Islam, you know?
Yeah.
It makes you wonder how many people might be seeking knowledge, but They're intimidated by perceptions of exclusivity.
It raises an important question, how can we as individuals and communities create environments that are genuinely welcoming and accessible to those who are exploring Islam? It's about breaking down those barriers and fostering those genuine connections.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So true.
But unfortunately, this man's journey takes a very difficult turn after 9/11.
Right.
Being an American living in Saudi Arabia at that time brought about immense challenges.
Right.
He faces suspicion, hostility, even accusations of terrorism.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
He recounts experiences ranging from this intense questioning by the FBI to even being spat on in public.
Wow.
It just highlights how fear and prejudice can lead to this unjust treatment, even towards innocent individuals.
Absolutely.
Even his own family turns against him.
Oh, wow.
Accusing him of betraying his country,
Wow.
Well, imagine that, the pain of being ostracized by the people you love most simply because of your beliefs.
Yeah, that's hard.
It's tough, and it's a testament to his faith that he remains steadfast, even despite facing such immense pressure. There's even this chilling encounter with a man wielding a Kalashnikov.
Oh, my God. He's with two friends, and they instinctively hit the ground, fearing the worst,
Yeah, of course.
But the man with the gun looks at him, says, "You're forgiven," and drives away.
Wow, what a powerful moment.
Powerful reminder, right?
Yeah.
That we can't paint entire groups with a broad brush.
Yeah.
There are individuals with varying beliefs and motivations within every community.
It's so important to remember that.
And that's a point he emphasizes,
Right.
He speaks out against the actions of extremists, making it very clear that they do not represent the true teachings of Islam.
Yeah, that's a really important distinction.
Huge distinction. Islam at its core promotes peace and submission to one God,
right?
Which is actually reflected in the very name Islam.
Meaning peace.
Meaning peace.
Yeah.
Right. It's a message that's often drowned out by fear-mongering and misinformation.
Absolutely. So often.
He urges listeners to seek knowledge from reliable sources, to engage in open dialogue with Muslims,
right?
And to read the Quran to understand the faith firsthand.
I think that's such a powerful call.
It is. It's a powerful call for understanding.
Yeah.
For bridging those divides, and for rejecting those narratives that seek to demonize entire groups of people.
Right. Exactly.
Now let's shift gears and dive into our second interview.
Okay.
The atheist who found his way to Islam through logic and evidence.
Interesting.
This story is a fascinating example of how intellectual curiosity can lead to this, like spiritual transformation.
Yeah.
He describes growing up in a non-religious household, not necessarily opposed to religion, but just seeing no reason to believe.
Right. It was just kind of like a default atheism.
A default atheism.
Yeah, shaped by his environment.
Shaped by his environment, but a chance encounter with a Muslim woman online sparked a curiosity that would eventually challenge everything he thought he knew.
It's amazing how those seemingly random connections can set us on entirely new paths.
Right. He was studying abroad in Leicester, which is a city known for its diverse population.
Right.
And he was struck by the visibility of Islam there. He saw women in hijabs.
Yeah.
Even non-Muslim men adopting traditional Islamic clothing.
Okay.
And it really challenged his preconceived notions.
Yeah.
And sparked a genuine interest in understanding this faith that held such strong appeal.
And then in a moment that feels almost destined, a young boy hands him a copy of the Quran.
It's like something out of a movie.
I know, right?
He initially saw it as an opportunity to just understand the beliefs of the woman he was interested in.
Okay, yeah.
But what he found in the Quran was completely unexpected. The language, the structure.
Yeah.
It was unlike anything he'd encountered before.
He describes it as an aha moment, realizing that the Quran had this unique quality that resonated deeply with him.
It's fascinating how he applied his scientific mindset to something often considered beyond logic.
Right.
He began to see the world through a different lens, questioning his assumptions about the universe and the purpose of life, the existence of God.
It's a great example of how seeking knowledge from diverse sources beyond what we're typically exposed to can broaden our understanding and challenge our perspectives.
Totally.
He was seeking truth wherever it might lead him.
Exactly. And that's what led him to explore other religions as well.
Okay.
He took this methodical approach, examining each one.
Yeah.
looking for logical consistency and evidence. He even tried to disprove the Quran.
Really?
Searching for contradictions and flaws.
And what did he find?
Nothing. He came up empty.
Wow.
He found that the Quran's teachings aligned with his own sense of reason and logic, particularly the concepts of God's mercy and justice, the emphasis on personal responsibility, and the framework for living a meaningful life.
It challenged those preconceived notions he had about faith and reason being incompatible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He actually used a philosophical framework called Pascal's wager to help him navigate this.
I've heard of that.
Essentially, it's about weighing the potential risks and rewards of believing in God versus not believing.
Right.
For our listeners who aren't familiar with Pascal's wager,
Yeah.
Blaise Pascal, a 17th century philosopher, argued that believing in God is the most rational choice. Even if the existence of God can't be proven, the potential consequences of disbelief, if God does exist, are far greater than the potential consequences of belief if God doesn't exist.
Yeah, I see. So it's a risk-reward calculation.
Exactly. So for our atheist friend, the potential consequences of disbelief in the face of an eternal afterlife were just too great to ignore.
Right. He had to consider that.
After weeks of intense study and reflection, he took the leap and embraced Islam.
Wow. And what was the impact like for him?
Immediate. He describes this immense weight lifting off his chest, this sense of peace and clarity he had never experienced before.
That's powerful.
It's a recurring theme in conversion narratives, this feeling of coming home, of finding a missing piece.
It's such a beautiful image.
But his conversion wasn't without its challenges.
Oh, of course not.
His parents were understandably shocked by his sudden transformation.
He must have been surprised.
Going from this, typical college student to embracing a faith they didn't understand.
Yeah, that's a common experience for converts, isn't it?
It is.
That delicate balance between staying true to their new faith and maintaining harmony with loved ones who may not share those beliefs.
He talks about the struggle of wanting to implement every Islamic practice he learns, even if it meant, alienating those around him.
Yeah, he admits to making mistakes.
Yeah.
To being overzealous in that initial fervor.
Right.
It's a good reminder that, growth is a process.
Yeah. That finding balance within a new faith takes time and patience.
Absolutely.
It's about integrating those new beliefs into your life in a way that's authentic and sustainable,
Yeah, and he found solace in a sense of community at the local mosque.
Okay.
Connecting with fellow Muslims who supported him on his journey.
Mosques play such a vital role in providing a sense of belonging, especially for converts.
Absolutely.
Who might feel like outsiders within their own families or social circles.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
But these stories are so rich with insights.
They are.
We've seen how personal the path to Islam can be.
Yeah.
How faith and reason can intersect, and how that search for truth can lead to these unexpected transformations.
But there's still so much to unpack.
Oh, yeah.
What are the deeper implications of these stories?
Right.
What can we learn from their experiences about interfaith dialogue and understanding? Join us in part 2
of our deep dive, where we'll explore these aspects in greater detail.
Absolutely. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been exploring the journeys of these two Americans from very different backgrounds who converted to Islam. And what's striking is how, despite those differences, their stories converge on this shared quest for meaning and belonging.
It's fascinating to see how both of them, in their own way, kind of challenge the common narratives surrounding Islam, right?
Yeah.
Their experiences highlight those limitations of those often repeated media portrayals that paint a very narrow and, frankly, inaccurate picture of the faith.
Exactly. And I think their stories offer this valuable lesson for all of us,
Yeah.
The importance of going beyond those surface-level narratives and engaging with diverse perspectives.
Right.
It's about recognizing the richness and complexity of human experience, especially within a global faith like Islam.
Okay, so let's pick up where we left off
Okay.
with our atheist friend navigating the challenges and triumphs of his newfound faith.
Right.
He talked about the initial difficulty of reconciling his beliefs with his existing relationships.
Yes, his parents were quite surprised, to say the least.
Right.
Imagine their reaction.
Yeah.
Their son, who previously had no interest in religion, suddenly embraces a faith that to them might have seemed completely foreign.
It must have been such a difficult conversation to navigate.
Yeah.
He mentions feeling a tension between wanting to express his faith fully and maintaining harmony with his family and friends who didn't quite understand his transformation.
Yeah, it's a common struggle for converts, that feeling of being caught between two worlds, trying to bridge the gap between their old life and their new beliefs.
Right.
He talks about feeling isolated at times.
Yeah.
Like his friends couldn't relate to his changed lifestyle, even though his family was accepting.
Right.
They preferred not to discuss religion.
That sense of isolation must have been so tough, especially in those early days when everything felt so new and overwhelming.
Absolutely.
But he did find solace in a sense of belonging in the local mosque, connecting with fellow Muslims who were going through similar experiences.
It's a great example of how community can play such a vital role in supporting converts on their journeys.
Yeah.
Mosques often serve as these spaces not just for prayer, but also for learning, for social connection and mutual support.
He talks about the mosque as a place where he felt understood, where he could freely ask questions and learn about his faith without judgment.
Yeah, it really underscores that need for human connection, right? Yes. Especially when you're navigating something as profound as a change in faith.
Absolutely. It's about finding that sense of belonging and shared purpose of being part of something larger than yourself.
But even within that newfound community,
he
encountered some challenges.
Okay.
He admits to being overzealous at times, wanting to implement every Islamic practice he learned immediately.
Right.
Even if it meant alienating those around him.
He talks about making mistakes, learning through trial and error, realizing that finding balance within a new faith takes time and patience.
It's a good reminder that spiritual growth is a process.
It is.
Not an overnight transformation.
It's about integrating those new beliefs into your life in a way that's authentic and sustainable.
Exactly.
He learned the importance of seeking guidance from those who had more experience, finding mentors within the community who could help him navigate those challenges and grow in his faith.
It's a valuable lesson for anyone going through a major life change.
Right.
Seeking out those mentors or guides who can offer support and wisdom along the way.
Now, both of these stories, though, vastly different in their beginnings, highlight the profound impact conversion can have on an individual's life.
Yeah.
From their internal world to their external relationships.
They demonstrate that the path to Islam isn't always straightforward.
Right.
It can be this journey of questioning, doubt, struggle, and ultimately a deep and meaningful transformation.
It's not just about intellectual assent either. It's about experiencing this shift in perspective, change in values, and that powerful connection to something greater than oneself.
What strikes me is that both individuals, despite their different backgrounds and starting points, were driven by this genuine desire to understand the world and their place in it.
They weren't content with accepting the status quo or blindly following the beliefs they were raised with.
They actively sought knowledge, challenged their assumptions, and were open to changing their minds when presented with compelling evidence.
They embody that spirit of intellectual honesty and the human capacity for growth and transformation.
Absolutely.
They remind us that it's okay to question, to explore, and to allow our beliefs to evolve as we learn and grow.
And while their journeys were deeply personal, there are these common threads that weave through their narratives.
Yes, for both of them. Embracing Islam brought about a profound sense of peace and purpose.
Right.
Like they found this missing piece of themselves,
Yeah.
A framework that gave meaning to their lives and their experiences.
They both emphasize the importance of community,
right?
The welcoming nature of the Muslim community that provided that support and guidance. It speaks to that innate human need for connection and belonging,
Right. We're not meant to navigate life's journey alone.
And perhaps most importantly, they challenge those stereotypes and misconceptions that surround Islam.
Huge.
They encourage listeners to seek knowledge from authentic sources.
Yes.
To engage in respectful dialogue with Muslims and to form their own understanding of the faith rather than relying on biased portrayals. So what does all of this mean for you, the listener?
Right.
What resonates with you in these stories? What challenges your preconceptions? What questions are you left with?
These stories invite us to reflect on our own assumptions about Islam.
Yeah.
To consider the diverse paths that lead people to the faith, and to recognize the richness and complexity of the Muslim community.
They remind us that human search for truth is this universal journey, one that can lead to unexpected places and profound transformations.
Totally.
It's about being open to learning from those who are different from us, to engage in those difficult conversations, and ultimately to working towards a world where understanding and empathy bridge those divides that separate us.
These stories have been truly eye-opening.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to continue this conversation with you in part 3.
Me too.
Where we'll explore some of the broader implications of these conversions.
Yes.
And discuss what we can learn from them about interfaith dialogue and understanding. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Deep Dive as we delve deeper into these conversion stories. It strikes me that we often hear about people leaving Islam, but these narratives, they flip the script entirely. We're seeing a different side of the story.
Yeah.
The pull, the attraction, the search that leads people to embrace this faith.
It's a refreshing perspective, isn't it? It challenges us to reconsider those often repeated narratives that focus solely on those who leave Islam without acknowledging the many who are drawn to it.
Right.
It's about recognizing that within any faith community, there's this whole spectrum of experiences and choices.
Exactly. And these stories, in their own way, reflect a larger trend. Islam is actually one of the fastest growing religions in the world.
Oh, wow.
It's projected to become the world's largest religion by the end of the century.
That's fascinating, isn't it?
It is.
Despite facing these negative portrayals in some media, Islam continues to attract people from all walks of life, all backgrounds, all corners of the globe.
It's amazing.
And I think these personal stories offer some insight into why that might be.
Absolutely. They highlight that human search for meaning. Purpose and connection, which transcends cultural and geographical boundaries.
Yeah, that desire to connect with something greater than oneself. It's universal.
It really is.
And both interviewees talked about finding that sense of purpose and connection in Islam. They spoke about the peace and clarity it brought to their lives, the framework for understanding the world and their place in it.
And let's not forget the importance of community, which both of them emphasized. They talked about the welcoming nature of the Muslim community, the support and guidance they received, the feeling of belonging they found.
Yeah, it's a reminder that we're social beings. We thrive in communities.
We do.
And within any faith tradition, that sense of community plays a vital role in fostering spiritual growth and personal well-being.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the key takeaway here is that the reasons people convert to Islam are as diverse and complex as the individuals themselves.
It's about moving beyond those simplistic, often biased portrayals and recognizing the individual journeys, the unique stories, and the shared human experiences that connect us across those differences.
And for our listeners, I think these stories offer this powerful invitation. An invitation to engage with different perspectives. To challenge your own assumptions and to approach conversations about Islam with an open mind and a genuine desire to understand.
It's about fostering empathy and understanding, bridging divides, and recognizing that our shared humanity transcends those differences that often separate us.
And perhaps, just perhaps, by listening to each other's stories, by engaging in those sometimes difficult conversations, we can start to build a world where understanding and respect pave the way for a more peaceful and interconnected future.
It's a challenge worth embracing, isn't it?
Absolutely. And remember, this is just one deep dive into a vast and fascinating topic. If you're intrigued by what you've heard today, don't stop here.
Keep exploring.
Explore the sources we've provided. Engage in conversations with Muslims in your community. Continue to seek knowledge and understanding.
And of course. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
Yes. Subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking deep dives into all sorts of fascinating topics.
Absolutely.
Until next time, keep diving deep and keep those conversations flowing.